We are here because we are dedicated to helping members of our community build lean, strong bodies and confident, resilient minds. Determined to elevate the lives of working professionals, stay-at-home parents, and anyone who is ready to level up their life. Our invigorating group fitness classes, practical nutrition programs, and authentic coaches help ignite your life. Find a place that believes in you. Find a place that challenges you. Find CrossFit Southpaw. All right. Welcome to the Southpaw Spotlight, episode 15. We're here with Grace Melander. Grace is one of our founding members. Her and a number of members of her family are at our gym. She's also one of our coaches and has a great story. So we're grateful to have you on the call here, Grace. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, so Grace, you have a lot of different things that kind of intertwine with Southpaw, whether it's, as I mentioned, family members, friends that are at the gym, and then you work at Substance, a church that a number of our members are active at. And so can you tell me a little bit about how Southpaw kind of fits into your general life right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part for sure. It's funny because I work at a church. And so that's obviously like an area of passion of mine, but I feel like next to that, Southpaw would be like the other bucket of my life, as far as like community and a huge part of who I am. It also is fun how the two work together of like in my job, like I try to grow as a leader, and then at Southpaw, I get the opportunity to express that in a different way. So it intertwines quite a bit.
Yeah. When you, I know you've been doing CrossFit for a while before Southpaw even opened. Walk me back there a little bit. Were you involved in other fitness programs before finding CrossFit, or what was that journey like?
Sure. So way back, like in high school, I was an athlete. I ran cross country, skied cross country, all that jazz. But post high school, like a lot of people, without having that structure, just like completely went to the wayside and was inactive for probably close to a decade. Gained a ton of weight, was super out of shape. And it got to the point in my life where I was waking up every day in like extreme physical pain, like just walking hurt. So before I found CrossFit, I just got to basically a rock bottom point in my life where it was like, I need to do something. So I did what most people did, which was I started running, because that's what is very like accessible, and people think that that's like, you know, what you do to get in shape. So started running, knew nothing about weightlifting, but eventually found myself at like a big box gym and went to a class for about 9 months consistently. But during that 9 months, like no one knew my name. The coach or the instructor like never really gave me any feedback. I would just grab whatever weights I thought, but like no one was encouraging me one way or the other. And my life did have some change. Like some of the pain started to go away. I started to lose a small amount of weight, but still just felt like there was probably something more efficient and effective. And so randomly decided to research CrossFit. I honestly don't know what happened, or like, I think maybe a friend brought me to like a gym or something, or I had a coworker, Max, who would like do some sort of workouts with me. It was like burpees, and they were horrible. So researched CrossFit, found a gym, showed up, was terrified. And that's kind of the start. And it's been life-changing ever since.
That's a great summary. Almost like you prepared that. I like it. You hit a couple big points there. One, I think that's important is that most people who find CrossFit, it's not like entry level fitness. A lot of people dabble in a number of other things before they end up at CrossFit, and it's usually the last stop rather than the first stop in their journey. And secondly, I love what you mentioned about efficiency, because to me that was really what drew me to CrossFit after I gave it a try. Is it was like, wow, like I can do a lot in a very short amount of time. And I like, it frustrates me in life when things aren't efficient, when it's, my mom will tell you that she likes to hike and like stop and take pictures and stuff. And my dad and I like to run, we want to go run up, back down, and then we'll sit there and relax. Right. But I like when things are efficient. And I think that CrossFit attracts people who look for that in their life. And generally those people are very successful in whatever areas they're active in.
Yeah, 100%.
Once you got started in CrossFit, what type of results did you start seeing compared to what you had done previously with the running or the other kind of just big group classes?
Um, a ton of results. Like it's hard to actually like probably be concise about it because I've seen like so many results. Some that are tangible, like I lost more weight. I've gained crazy amounts of strength that I never would have imagined. Like I didn't even know that human beings could lift the type of weights that like people in a CrossFit gym, everyone who comes to a CrossFit gym can lift. Like I knew like 5-pound dumbbells, 10-pound dumbbells, which are great. But so it's even expanded like my mindset of like, I believe so much more in what I'm capable of than I would have ever imagined. So that's definitely a result. And then maybe some of the more intangibles would be like community, which everyone notes when they come to CrossFit. Like it's changed my mindset on community, confidence. Like to me, I feel like I'm a much more empowered human being as a result. But then of course, like I said, like there was the weight loss, there was the strength gain, skill sets, like the results have just been like so wide and expansive that that's probably why I'm still doing it. Like, and probably for a lot of people, it's why they fall in love with it, I would guess.
It's that word empowered, I think, is huge, and it is intangible. It's tough to quantify and measure, but it's also very powerful. When you talked about that kind of decade that you took off from fitness, and you'd wake up in pain. If you can remember back that far, what was that? What were the feelings that you kind of had throughout the day? Like, did you have that sense of belief in yourself or in what you were capable of, or that there may be things that you could still grow in? Does that make sense? Because I think the
Yeah,
contrast between those two is huge.
yeah, it does make sense. And I'm sure I had moments of belief, like because I just am wired to like be someone who like I've always felt like we're made for greatness and like
Yeah.
life is meant to be like, tackled and all that jazz. But as far as like consistently day to day, I would say like no, like it like not only was my physical health in poor shape, but obviously all things work together. So like my mental health was rough and like just like lethargy and feeling like when you're in pain, it's not enjoyable, of course. And so it does affect other areas of your life as well. Self-confidence was huge. Like I definitely had no self-confidence back then. Like probably even could have verged on like self-hatred to a certain extent, which I think a lot of people struggle with. And so I
Yeah.
would say like, yeah, no, back then it was not like I definitely didn't feel the same way that I feel about myself now.
That's yeah, that's a huge contrast. And I think you you said in there that when you were in pain all the time, a lot of times, if when I feel that way, I want to do less, and really the way to get out of it is to do more, right? To start using those muscles or using your body again, and that could be mental, physical, psychological, spiritual, whatever it is. But I saw something interesting this morning that I thought was fascinating, and that's that action predicates motivation. So oftentimes you don't get motivated to do something and then do it. You have to start, like, take that first step, and then the motivation starts to build up behind it. And I think a lot of times that's kind of the secret sauce that CrossFit gyms or smaller boutique style fitness have, is that that the ramp up of motivation can be so much more rapid when you have other people there to help you out along the way. So if you take the action of filling out a contact form on the website or coming in the door for a class or whatever that happens to be, you get wrapped up in that energy that everyone else has, and it can help just kind of help that seed grow so much faster.
Yeah, totally. Like, and momentum works both ways. And so that's why for me, I take rest days, but I infrequently will take like a rest week because I know for me, like I got to keep that snowball moving downhill in the right direction, because if I take a rest week, it is just like my nature of like, then I'm going to take a rest year. Like, and I know that sounds dramatic, but it's how I am. And I think it's how a lot of people are. So like the momentum is huge, and the people at the gym are definitely a huge factor to that for sure.
I think your personality is very similar to mine, where you're kind of, and I trying to word this differently about myself, but I used to say I'm kind of an all or nothing person.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I try to say I am a person who is working on being more balanced or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to pigeonhole ourselves with these titles, whether it's, I'm not athletic, or I am athletic, or I'm an all or nothing kind of person, or I'm just don't have motivation like they do. And if we can reframe how we talk about it, that discussion, I've noticed that you're very intentional with the words that you use, which is something that I really appreciate, because I am too. And those words can a lot of times dictate the trajectory of our day or our life, our experience that we're having. But it's hard for me to take days off, because I like routine, I like habit, and I like that momentum too. And that's why it's helpful to have people around you who can say, hey, I took a day off and I'm fine, I'm back, I feel better, right? And you realize that you're not alone in that.
Yeah, totally.
Grace, as you've kind of gone through CrossFit for a number of years now, you've become a coach, and what's your experience been like as you see people either kind of coming into the gym, or people who have been there for a while, but you're on the other side of the coin?
Sure. I guess I don't know necessarily which way to approach this, so I'll just
Yeah, that was
talk
a
in an
bad
easy
question.
way. But
Edit that one out.
yeah, so I think a lot, like with new people to the gym, because that's one part of the question, was like new people to the gym or whatever. I think a lot of people like cut themselves short when they come into the gym, or they'll like look at people and be like, well, I'm not doing that, so what I'm doing isn't as like impressive. And so that's something that both as an athlete in the gym and as a coach, like if I hear, like I want to be like, no, like if you showed up today to CrossFit, like that's impressive. Because like if you go survey the people in your neighborhood, if you survey people like in your age group, like whatever you're doing is impressive. And so I think for new people, like I just want to encourage them both as a pure athlete and as a coach of like, don't cut yourself short. Like you just need to keep showing up, and you will impress yourself. Like you will do things you never thought you could do. But if you come in and you think, well, I'm not doing what that person's doing, or I feel like I should be able to do that, but I can't yet, like that's where you're going to kind of put yourself in a rut, just like you were saying with words. Like you try to describe yourself a certain way, knowing that inevitably, if you believe it about yourself, like that affects things. And so I think that's one huge observation for new people.
Just,
And then,
I just
yeah,
want to add this anecdote. Um, when you talked about, looking at who you're surrounded with in the gym, and it's easy for those of us who are there all the time to just kind of like, that's the standard. And Kelly and I recently took a trip. We were on a cruise ship, and so you're in this enclosed space, and they're very big. I think there was 3,000 people on the ship or whatever. But it was fascinating to me how out of shape the majority of people are, and the staff on the ship was fairly fit and trim, but an overwhelming majority of the people were chronically obese, right? Or just very big. And I don't say that as a bad thing, but one morning I was up running around the track, and I saw this woman there who was very large, but she was walking, and she had her gear on and her headphones in, and she kind of had this look on her face like she didn't really feel like she belonged up there. And I was like so proud of her that she was up there doing that, right? And that's whatever that step is, right? We're not all Pulitzer Prize winners, but maybe you get an article published in the local paper, right? Take that first step, and it's not just about the physical transformation. I don't mean to pick on the weight or anything like that. It's about how they enjoy life. I just walking around the ship, we kept noticing it. Like, are these people enjoying their time here? And anyway, it just made me think of that. With that, is you're surrounded by these very fit people. We're used to, prior to CrossFit, we're used to 5 and 10 pound dumbbells, and then people are
Yeah.
slinging around 50s, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like a totally different ball game. And not that we're elite or anything like that, but we're a tribe moving in one direction, and we want to swell up with people and help you move with us, which is neat. And I totally cut you off and sidetracked you, but just, I guess the point of this question is just, what's the experience been going from as an athlete to going to being a coach now? Are you noticing things differently, or?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's very interesting because if you're in a workout, you're not paying attention to the person next to you generally, mostly because, a lot of CrossFit workouts are like, I'm just trying to focus on what I'm doing. So then to switch it and to really watch people's movement is like you're standing outside of class now looking in. And so I think for me, like, I do have a really strong passion about like quality of movement. And so it's fun to see like people's movement and then wonder like, oh, what does my movement look like? Like, I'm like, I almost want to videotape myself because the coaches see what I'm moving like, but like, I have no idea if
Yeah.
I'm moving properly. And so I think that's been kind of fun, just to observe, and then to watch people progress in their movement is like really enjoyable. And even obviously it just shows you a different, like, you peek behind the curtains of the methodology. And I think for people who get the opportunity to do that, which we all have the opportunity to learn and grow in, it just is so fascinating, and it makes you fall for sure deeper in love with CrossFit in particular. Again, like, all movement is great, but obviously we do CrossFit for a reason. So
Yeah. The we talked about that kind of continuum earlier of CrossFit kind of being the end point, and maybe just going for a run is the beginning, right? And there's all these stops you can make along the way, and we've seen the emergence of things like F45 with Mark Wahlberg and Orange Theory, or whatever these boutique fitnesses happen to be, and they all are along the continuum. But from what I've seen and what we do at Southpaw, what I believe from reading a lot of the OG CrossFit texts, is that CrossFit is really the pinnacle on one end. Like, if something is works, if something is good for you, if it's been shown to be more efficient than something else, we're going to use it. That's why we use barbells and heavy weights, and we don't just do machines that are overly complex but simple to use, right? They don't, research, studies, and anecdotal experience shows that they aren't nearly as good for you in the same amount of time as it is to use a loaded barbell or a dumbbell or kettlebell, or just move your body through time and space in gymnastics. And the transfer that has outside of the gym is phenomenal. But that analogy to me, I always kind of look at that is that if there's something that's more efficient out there, we have 15,000 little, test sites of people bringing in different ideas and trying things out, the number of CrossFit affiliates. And we're going to evolve and keep growing. If it doesn't work, we're going to take it out. And we've seen that as well with a number of different movements that we've removed. So,
yeah.
Tell me a little bit. I know that you really do look at the programming and kind of what we do. What is there anything in particular about the programming at Southpaw that you enjoy, or that you find enjoyable to coach or perform as an athlete?
Yeah, totally. Otherwise I probably would find a different gym. No, I'm just kidding. I think at Southpaw specific, I like that there's a good variety, which is obviously like a value of CrossFit. But just programming in general, like, it gets everyone out of their comfort zone. So like, for one person, getting out of your comfort zone might be a box jump, and that might take like a while for you to get there. But for another person, it might be a muscle up. And so there's a variety within the programming that allows everybody to get out of their comfort zone, which I think, again, is like one of the greatest values of CrossFit. At least it's what I found valuable. So I really enjoy that. Or even like unique moments, like, or movements, like the other day you did the landmine push press. That's unique. Like, that's not something we're going to do regularly, but it gives people an opportunity to try something new. And then as far as coaching goes, I like that, each workout has an intent. And so it's really fun to try to get to teach the athlete, like, what is the intent of this day? What is the point? How are you going to get the most ownership as an athlete out of today? So like earlier in the week, you had programmed a day where it was a 6x6 back squat, and you had given the direction of like, for some people that might be all they do, but for others, they might do this bonus Metcon or whatever. And so it's fun to get to coach and be like, hey, like, what is your goal? And here's the intent of today. Like the 6x6 is meant to be kind of like the meat. And then the Metcon is kind of like the side salad or the appetizer at the end. If you're following my analogy. So I think it's really fun with the programming that you get the opportunity to just like teach people how to be owners in their own fitness.
Yeah.
I know they're coming and being like, they're paying to get coached, they're paying to get programming, but how can they get the most or be the most efficient, like we were saying earlier. So I really enjoyed that about the programming.
I think that's two hallmarks of a good coach, or two pillars of things that I consider when I look for a good coach, is one, that they are able to take a general group workout, this program for a group. We all have the same general basic needs, but then, individualize and personalize it for each person, what the load is going to be, how they're feeling that day, ask probing questions to figure out, what they might benefit from given their specific goals or their specific position in life. And then secondly, I forgot the secondly already. Yeah, the ability to kind of convey that to the athlete and why that's going to be. So you're leading this group, but then you're able to make these individual modifications, for lack of a better term. And it's neat to see that when it works, because there's kind of this harmony between the individual and the group, and they both feed off of each other. And when done well, it looks almost seamless, but it's a cool thing to be able to do. All right, I got one last question for you that we ask everybody on the podcast, but this is just a good one generally for people who are interested in CrossFit or in checking out a different gym or a different experience. What would you tell someone who is on the fence about looking at Southpaw or trying out CrossFit?
I think I would just tell them, like, because I know a lot of people, the first time they come in, they say, I was so scared to try CrossFit. And I know that probably this is an echo to everyone that you've asked this question to, but like, if you just show up, it's not what you perceive it to be. Like, everyone's going to be your cheerleader. We will all be thankful that you're there and impressed by whatever you do. No one's going to judge you. They're all going to support you. And if you come and you come consistently for a period of time, you will change your perspective on what you're capable of 100%. And it will also probably change your mindset on fitness and even your previous experience on fitness.
That's fantastic. I love that. You had a very good quote in there. Grace, thanks so much for your time today. Anything else that you want to share or add on?
Not that I can think of, besides just to shout out Southpaw. I do think Southpaw is an amazing gym. The coaching staff is amazing. The facility is amazing. It's clean. Nick's a great business owner, and I've been to several other CrossFit gyms, and I can say that I truly do believe it's one of the best gyms in the state of Minnesota. So if you're local, I would check it out.
Thanks so much, Grace. I feel flattered, and I appreciate having you on.
Bye.